Well, hello there, everybody, and welcome. This is part 2 of our Media Skills live stream from CLA Community Learning Alternatives, locations in Belleville, Trenton, and Madoc. We're an adult literacy and basic skills center specializing in adult education from ABCs and 1, 2, 3s right up to high school credits, college prep, apprenticeship, and more. My name is Jamie. Along with me is Drew. Both Drew and I are instructors at CLA. Drew's an instructor at our Madoc location. I'm an instructor at the Belleville location. We are commemorating Media Literacy Week, both in Canada and the United States, to promote fact-checking, accuracy, and limiting false information, misinformation, and disinformation. This is part 2 of our seminar in cooperation with the fine folks at mediasmarts.ca. And they provided the material for today's quick presentation from their Break the Fake campaign. And so let's get started with our next topic. And that would be finding the original source. So we're not just getting our news from the major TV networks or the radio or your favorite newspaper anymore. We're getting information from social media, from independent websites, and from all across the world as well. And it's important to know where that information is coming from, if there is any bias, and other factors. So that's what we're going to discuss today. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and we'll try and get back to them as quickly as we can. All right, so let's begin. Because it is so easy to copy and share things online, it's important to find out where something originally came from before you decide whether or not to trust it. Someone might have shared it with you on social media, or a news story might be based on someone else's story. So it could be literally secondhand information, but in a digital way. Now, one easy way to find the original source is to use a search engine. We talked about this in our first session yesterday. We might wonder if this post that seems to show a US senator displaying a picture of Aquaman to Congress is real. Because you look at it and you're like, oh, that can't be real. That couldn't have happened, right? Well, as we already saw yesterday, pictures are easy to fake. And pictures where someone is holding a sign are especially easy, because you just have to change what's on the sign. So we can do a search for his name, for Aquaman, and for C-SPAN in the search engine where the picture supposedly came from. You can open the link to C-SPAN in a new tab. And we see that it actually does come from C-SPAN's footage of the US Congress, meaning that picture is real, and that really happened. So another way to find out if a photo like this one of astronomer Carl Sagan is real is to do a reverse image search. And you can click on the image, and then you would right-click and select Copy Image Location. And that will save it to your computer's clipboard, which is kind of like temporary memory. And you can either use the Google image search function, which is fairly new to the main home screen of Google. If you're on the Google homepage, you'll see in the top right corner Gmail, and then you'll see a link called Images. And you can do the search there, or you can use an independent site like tineye.com. So you can go to tineye.com and paste in the address that you just copied into your clipboard from right-clicking on that image to find out where exactly that image came from. So if we sort through the results to show the oldest results first, because we want to see what the origin is of this photo, we can see right away that there's a different version of this photo. And because the two are exactly the same, except for what's on the sign, it's most likely the older one is the original. So you get how that worked? It's a really handy thing to do. I mean, it's easy to search text. Everybody, Google is originally made for text. But now, with the advanced search algorithms that are out there, you can actually search images and find out whether they're real or not, or whether they've been doctored. Okay, so even if something you see is real, though, it may not be what the source that shared them says they are. So this photo, for example, is not actually of Charlie Chaplin, but an actress named Tell Me Talia. And that's why you need to follow the links in a story until you get where the information actually came from. So links are going to be in a story, and they could be displayed in a couple of different ways, just as a sidebar. The most natural way that links are displayed on the internet are in blue instead of black or gray, and they would have an underline. However, many websites will stylize their links, and they may not be underlined, but they may be highlighted in a different color, or they may be the same color as the regular text, but underlined. Usually, though, actually, I shouldn't say usually, almost always, the links in an article are going to be stylized in some way. And that way you can follow the links to the original story to where that information came from. This is especially important on social networks, where we usually pay more attention to who shared with something with us instead of where it originally came from. This is a big one. So you'll see people, oh, well, it came from John, therefore it must be reliable and reputable, right? But who knows where John saw it and who knows where he got it from? So it's a good idea to pay attention where the original source is. And all the social networks are going to show where the original source of that material is at the bottom. If there aren't links, look for phrases like the New York Times reported or Associated Press said or something to that effect. Because the rewrite then basically of that story hopefully will cite the original sources that they got their information. The word source at the top or bottom of a story, if something presents you with facts or statistics but doesn't tell you where they came from, there's no way to know if you can trust them. So, for example, this story here from the Bleacher Report claims that breakdancing and skateboarding are going to become official Olympic events. And when we scroll down a bit, we see that it's based on earlier stories from Reuters and the Associated Press, which are both reliable sources. But to make sure that the Bleacher Report is giving us an accurate picture of what those sources reported, we can follow the links, just like we talked about earlier. And click on those links and find out where the original information came from. So you'd right-click and open them in new tabs, and we can see that that story is true. They are considering breakdancing as an Olympic sport. Who would have thunk? Anyway, it's been around for a while. Make sure, though, that a story really is from that source. Lots of websites, including many reliable sites like the Reuters news service, carry sponsored content, paid links to stories or other sites. I see this a lot. It could be a reputable magazine. It could be a health magazine. It could be a car magazine. And it could be a very trustworthy and reputable publication or website, but they're also paid to post stories and content about particular products or services. And if they are reputable, and I'll be honest, most of the top line websites and magazines and publications that you know of, that you hear of, they're going to indicate somewhere on the content, it'll say sponsored content, sponsored article, paid advertisement, something to that effect. And if they don't, they're probably not going to last long. People are going to call them out for it. They're going to get blowback. The internet as a whole tends to call out bullcrap quite a bit, and that I can appreciate. If there aren't links in the story, you can do a search for the topic plus the sources that are given, like this. So it requires slightly more work, a little bit of typing, but you just type in the keywords for a topic and where it came from, and then do a search on your own to see if you can find the original source. We can also use a reverse image search to see if a photo really is what it seems to be. So according to this tweet, this photo shows a terrible mess left behind after an environmental protest. But following the steps we learned a few minutes ago shows that the picture is actually from a concert in 2014. So this isn't an environmental mess at all. This is just a bunch of garbage that a bunch of concert goers left behind. It's all about context. I've seen this recently in posts about protests that have gone on over the past several months, when in fact the photos they've been using were protests from different events in different countries at different times for different reasons. Political protests, protests of unrest and so forth in different parts of the world, but they're relabeled to be something that's current or something that's relevant today. So now it's your turn. I would like you, if you're watching, to take a few moments, take a moment or two, not very long. Did the explorers here really find hundreds of animals that were thought to be extinct in a place called the Lost City of the Monkey God? Take a few minutes to find the original source of this story and see if it's true. And we're just going to hang on for a moment or two while I'll give you a chance to do an image search and a Google search and figure out if this is true or false. So take that time now. All right, I've given you about 20 seconds. That should be enough. Okay, so let's find out what's going on here. So what do people think? Is it true or not? And how did you find out? Well, probably didn't take long to figure out that this story is true, even though you may have no reason to think all that's interesting is a very reliable news source for information, a website that you might have never heard of. When we scroll down just a bit, we can see that the story actually came from The Independent, which is a very well-known British newspaper. Now, but what if you didn't know whether The Independent was a reliable source or not? Maybe you never heard of them. And how do we know that this is their real website? Anyway, it could be another website that's masquerading as The Independent, or they call themselves that, but they're really not. So we are going to answer those questions tomorrow when we talk about verify the source. So that's it for the content for today. Drew, did you have any questions about the things that we covered today?
No, I think it's all really great information. I think this can be applied to not only your personal life, but when you're in school, when you're teaching children about online content. Any person really, if you're trying to teach them about basically realizing that everything on the internet isn't always true.
Yeah, I mean, the internet's been great for democratizing publishing, really, where you're publishing content. Anybody can do it. With a modicum of information, you can create your own website and post whatever you like on it, and no one's going to stop you. This is the real freedom of speech that we have. However, that freedom comes with a price, and that price means that you need to have a discerning eye. You need to be able to tell the difference between what's real and what's fake. Like the meme we talked about yesterday with the elderly lady on the subway. You can't take anything for granted, unfortunately, unless it's coming from a source that you can verify and you can trust. Mm-hmm. And as you become more experienced in this, you'll be able to recognize reputable news sources more often. You won't have to do the types of reverse searching that we're doing today. And you'll also be able to recognize when you see something that could be questionable or could be fake. You go, mm-hmm. That doesn't look right. Mm-hmm. And then you now have the ability and tools to go ahead and figure out for yourself whether you should trust it or not. And if you don't trust it, if you find out that you're not, don't spread it around, obviously. This is what happens. People don't check what they're seeing and they're reading. Yep. And they think it's noteworthy and they think it's interesting and they'll repost it for whatever reason.
Well, and it's just it's a matter of a click of a button. It's so easy, right?
So easy. Yeah. So easy. I mean, before, when I had to spread around my propaganda, I had to go and type it up myself and do all the graphics, cut out all the crazy letters from different magazines to make it look like a ransom note, go to the copy store, photocopy it, and pass it around to people who wouldn't want to take it and leave them on the ground anyway. So
Yep.
You know, it's tough to be a crackpot these days, or back then. But now you can be a crackpot online, and it's really easy. Until people call you out for your crap, of course. I'm joking, of course. You know, I'm trying to make light of something that can potentially be a serious topic and serious threat. And you know, as we deal with politics and the effects that internet and online information has on our everyday lives, it's important to know these things. Yeah. Drew, thank you for joining me again this morning for our quick little media literacy skills session. We will be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. If you'd like more information about how you can break the fake and identify the different things that you see online, you can go to mediasmarts.ca. If you'd like more information about CLA and the programs and services that we offer, all absolutely free to our learners, you can go to learnwithcla.ca. Thanks again, Drew. Yeah. And we will see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.